Hey everybody, welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda and I'm here with my brother Eric.
How are you guys doing this week? We are here with our Stranger Things Season 3, Episode 6, E Pluribus Unum episode, where we are now really kind of wrapping down on the end of Season 3. We're really starting to see where it's all coming together before our big finale here. So, I've always said, and you've heard me say now throughout these episodes that I've been a big fan of Season 3. I've always liked Season 3. And as we're now rewatching it, I'm starting to have more issues with Season 3 than I remember on the first few times. I think there are episodes and moments that I really resonate with and I really like. But there are also stretches where it is, it doesn't really quite feel like Stranger Things. It feels like 80s knockoff movie, like it doesn't really connect to the same way that I feel like the characters would connect in the way that I see them in every other season of Stranger Things. So, and maybe it's just the whole connection with Russia. I don't know. There's something there that is just disconnecting parts of this story for me. I don't know how you feel now that we're, 6 episodes in.
Yeah, I have to say, so remember last week I did have a lot of issues with just, how things didn't quite add up, specifically with the group going into the Russian lab and just not being detected and how all that played out and just, it not carrying the same level of intensity as it had maybe in a previous season at that point. That being said, I was really just stuck on last week's episode with those issues. This one I really liked. I felt like this episode really is ramping up, and I feel like throughout the seasons, the Stranger Things, the whole season tends to go through an arc where there is like that episode that just doesn't land the same as the others. But it does add some layer of value that you could tell, they were trying to insert into the storyline that maybe just, it just didn't land the same as the others. But I don't know. Well, I felt like this one in particular, I was, we'll get to the details more specifically, as we walk through it. But, I also am wondering, to your point, Eric, sort of like how in each season it goes through this arc with maybe an episode or maybe two that don't carry that same weight or impact as the others. Maybe also just as a whole series, this season is like that piece where it doesn't, as a whole, it doesn't carry the same arc, but it does have, like, it serves a sort of that necessary purpose of adding to the storyline at, like, when you zoom out and look at it as a whole. When you zoom now out, that we've finished the whole thing.
When you look at all nearly 50 episodes of the show, that there is there's an arc in the entire series, and that this helps get us from, B to C, if you will. I do believe that exists, although I do think, unlike in the past 2 seasons that we've gone through, I think in this season, it's a little bit more up and down for me on the episodes, instead of it being a true, like, all rise. Like, season 2 started low and it just kept on going except for the one episode. This season feels a little bit more up and down. But again, I've only seen these maybe once or twice before. And we're coming up to the conclusion. And I remember there being a lot of things that I like here at the end. So I'm really holding judgment at this point until we finish this whole thing up. But I definitely feel like this season has been a little bit more of a roller coaster than just like a escalator. You know what I mean? Where you're going only up. So we'll see.
And the criticism is good. I mean, it's interesting to talk about, and we'd love to hear everyone's feedback out there who's listening in.
Yeah.
It's like, what are your thoughts on this season? How it contributes to the series as a whole? Do you feel like it's adding value? What do you think could have been changed or added? Or like, what could have just been left out? Are there things here that it's like, well, that really wasn't even adding to the greater, the plot line as a whole? Or maybe it was a missed opportunity to develop other characters. I don't know. I mean, the one character I will say, before we get into it, that I'm still struggling with here, I think she's funny. I like her, and I like where this storyline takes her, Erica, right? So we have this conversation, which we'll get to, between her and Dustin.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed that, but I'm like, so, girl, are you smart or are you a dum-dum? Because last season it kind of seemed a little bit like the whole banging of the canister against the wall. Like, no, it's just not. It's not adding up for me, and I don't think that she's a dum-dum character, but
I
sure
don't.
did come off that way, and so it just wasn't. Yeah, it's just a little bit inconsistent for me, and I had some issues with Robin in this one too, where I'm like, there was just a couple lines from her that didn't feel consistent with her character as a whole, and I'm like, I wish that they had kind of just left that out, but Well, so those are two things that we'll get to.
I think the idea of Erica in the previous episode trying to open the canister, it does not convey that she's super intelligent. At the same time, this is our first look at Erica in a more panicked state, in a crisis situation, and with Robin as well. But we've seen Dustin and we've seen Steve go through this, and they're not even thinking about the canisters at this point. Robin is a little bit older, so you might say that she's a little bit more able to handle this, at least at the very beginning. And listen, we'll see where they go from here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, just as a quick reminder of where we left things off last week, because just so much happens in these episodes, Hopper and Joyce they found that Russian lab under one of the locations on their checklist, and they took Alexei hostage, and Grigory was on their trail. Meanwhile, Nancy and Jonathan caught up with Mike, Eleven, Max, Lucas, and Will, where they agreed Mrs. Driscoll and Billy are flayed, so they've all come to terms with that. And there are also Steve, Dustin, Robin, and Erica. They survived that elevator drop scene, and they had to sneak around the Russian lab techs, and they found themselves staring at a giant laser beam working to open up another gate. And in the end, Nancy and Jonathan were attacked by Tom and Bruce in the hospital, but they managed to take them down. They, meaning Nancy, because Jonathan was just being thrown around like a rag doll, somehow survived that. But after Bruce and Jonathan died, after Tom and Bruce died, sorry, Jonathan. After they died, their bodies then formed that blob-like creature, which then morphed into a terrifying monster. And that's where we left them, with this monster just in the hallway. And I was thinking we picked up right there, but we actually pick up in a slightly different location, but we quickly get back there. So just to dive right into this episode.
Let's dive right in.
Chapter 6, E Pluribus Unum. So we open up with Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Erica. They are watching the gate open up, because remember, they've now snuck into that other level of this lab, still being undetected at this point. And Dustin is saying to the group, this is kind of maybe possibly the end of the human race kind of bad, trying to give a quick, get everyone on board to the level of urgency without having time to really explain everything at this point. And so they're all running down the stairs at this lab. Again, they're still undetected, but they quickly notice that that dude that Steve knocked out, he's gone now. There's just a spot of blood on the floor, and they open the door to see him alerting the rest of the guards, and now they have been spotted. And they're running into another room, and where that laser beam is, and now it is like right in front of them, or they're right next to it, and Dustin is just screaming into the wind like, holy shit, and just repeating that over and over again, and they are just right in front of the gate. It's really intense, and really, I loved how this looked. And Steve is, then they're running out of there. Steve's knocking over these barrels, trying to, try to put those in the way of some of the guards that are after them, and they're just running like mad. They're racing out of there, and they're closing a door behind them, and somehow shut it, with about 8 guards trying to get through.
There were stretches of this little chase scene that kind of felt very like, those cartoons that you see where one person runs from one side of the hall to the other side, and then they pop out another door, and then they come through another way.
Whack-a-mole.
Where it's like, what is happening here? Because Steve is leading the escape through these areas, and they're running right past some guards who don't do anything, and they're running from other guards, and they're like throwing barrels in the way and like tipping over a chair, and like it's weird. It just is a very bizarre escape scene. But they get inside the room, they shut the door, and Steve by himself holds off like 4 fully adult male guards.
Steve and Robin are holding the door
Steve
closed.
by himself at first.
He's starting, yes.
And then as the door is starting to open, Robin runs over there because, she's the muscle of the group here. And she helps hold this door shut while Dustin and Erica can escape through this grate in the floor. To where? Nobody knows.
They just found a gate,
but they
and
found
I
a grate
Dustin.
And jumped into it.
Yeah, and Dustin's just saying, I won't forget you. I love that line.
I mean,
Steve was telling them to go. It was just so funny because he's like, yeah, I won't forget you with Erica. And I don't know. But yeah, it's wild. It's chaotic.
This was chaotic. And it was also, I just was watching this going, man, I don't know. This doesn't feel Stranger Things-y. This is one of those scenes that I'm talking about that just doesn't seem to hit right. There's something missing, or there's something. It's chaotic, and there's a lot going on. Is it just too much of a
stretch of the imagination? Is that?
I think it might be.
It's like it's just too weird.
And don't get me wrong, like I'm fully accepting of mind flayers and stuff being around, but when Steve is running from a Russian guard, and he's holding back like 4 or 5 of them. In a single door, and he's supposed to be like, 18, and he's not that big a dude.
No.
This does not feel like they would have just pushed the door open.
And they do.
They do. They get there, but like Dustin and Erica should not have got out of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you would have thought that they would have quickly noticed that they were gone, and there's only one place. I mean, not that
what I'm saying.
Giant,
like, where else would they go?
I don't know.
You would inspect the room.
But could they have even gone in that vent if they wanted to? Like, were Dustin and Erica the only ones that could have even gone through there?
I don't know. That vent was a whole lot bigger than the one they were trying to get into earlier.
Yeah, that opening surely was because
they were able to Dustin, just sit in it and have a conversation for a while at one point.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They were really comfortable in there, easy to move around. I mean, it's So
I think the adult they were. I think the adult guards could have fit in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's
maybe not as comfortably, but they would have got in. There feels like a lot here, and it's just the idea of like these guys can run all over this, which we'll find out later, this security center that is, you cannot break into it. It is undetectable. It is impossible to break in. And they're just running all over the place and no one is stopping them. And now they're like detected and they're still able to get out of most of this jam. Like, I don't know.
Well,
anyway, but they do catch Steve and they do catch Robin.
Yeah, and even at the scene that we'll get to later, which is really where I had more of an issue too, is where it's like when Erica and Dustin they get the little golf cart thing and there's still no one there. Like, no one is detecting their location at all. There. Like, apparently, like, they know at this point that there's more kids running around, right? Like, they did a head count, you would think, with the number of that guard that got beat up. Like, he knew that there were more than 2 kids. And
you would think.
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah. So meanwhile, though, we have Will and the rest of the kids. They're at the hospital still. And Will is feeling the back of his neck and it's getting all prickly. And he's saying he's here. And 11 knows too. I mean, it's very clear. The lights are all flipping out. It's going crazy. And Nancy.
I wrote in my notes, like, 11 activate. Like, because she's sitting there and all of a sudden it's like, boom, like lowers the brow and it's like here comes the boom, like she is all Eric, set.
That is so funny. I had the same thing. It's like 11 is activated. She is now switched on. And Nancy is staring at this monster. So now we're upstairs with Nancy and Jonathan, where this thing is staring at her. And Eric, I am glad, because remember, we were a little bit worried that they were going to have Nancy and Jonathan maybe standing next to each other, and they might
like that they were going to be running together.
No,
they didn't. So that was good.
Still separate. Nancy is staring at this thing and is trying to get the heck out of there, but there is this door that is like blocked by some sandbags or something on the other side, and Jonathan is just yelling, "Nancy, run!" And she is able to squeeze through this door still, and Jonathan's still trying to like distract it, trying to like get its attention, but it is not listening. It's focused on Nancy, and it is chasing Nancy. I guess it busts through that sandbag door too, because it's already then behind Nancy.
No. It like drops down, goes under the door, it deforms,
right. It turned into the goo.
Slides under the door.
No, not that part. Not that part. I mean, when she's first still running away. So she squeezed back through past these like sandbags into like this other part of the hallway and goes through there, and then it's still chasing her down that hall. She's still running away, and I think maybe it dropped to another floor. Either way, it's behind her again. It's still chasing her, and this thing is like a giant scorpion looking thing.
Well, this thing has no bone. It looks like the mind flayer is what it does.
It does, but it's a bit like, I mean, it's gross. It's just like,
it's gross, but it's in the mind flayer form with the spider legs and that one like long head. That's what it looks like.
Yeah. And she sealed herself in that empty room though. That's the right. Yeah. So then she's in like this empty space. And she's terrified, obviously, because there's no way out. Like, she's now also kind of put herself in a cage. And that's where, right, like, it shrinks down into the goo. And she just sees it appearing before her with all, like, it's basically a mix of, like, goo and people's bones that it's consumed. And it is now reconstructing itself. And you then see this thing is, creeping toward her as Jonathan is trying to get into the room, but he can't because it's locked, and it's reforming into the monster, and Nancy, and it knocks Nancy against the wall. So Jonathan is using then this oxygen tank that he finds, and he's trying to bust through the glass into the room, and it is right above her. It reminded me of Alien in this scene, that iconic moment where Alien is like over Sigourney Weaver, and it's just like dripping like the like phlegm into her face. Like it was so scary. This was like a really cool shot, and it's screaming in her face. And just at that moment, 11, thank God, busts into the room. The door comes flying off the hinges, and she is throwing this thing from one wall to the next wall to the ceiling, and it is just throwing it around until she finally throws it through the window outside, and 11 is screaming, and this thing lands outside on the pavement in the front of the hospital. And this is where I'm also like, because the kids all run outside to go see it then, and 11 wants to, chase it down and finish it. Is what I'm assuming. No one in the hospital is out there. Like, there's no one. There's got to be some survivors somewhere. Like, there's no one in the hospital. It's just the kids that are out there witnessing this, and they're watching it leave through this grate in the parking lot. Yep. And it's leaving like a thigh bone or so, like a femur or something on the top, because guess what? That bone is too big to get through that grate. So it's right. Just so now
it's leaving pieces behind.
Oh, it was so gross. Yeah. And, but we're watching it rejoin the rest of its body, which is now massive. And we see Billy and Heather standing there watching it all. And Billy is just saying, it's time.
It is time. It is time. And this is where we get, the name of the episode, E Pluribus Unum, is out of many, one. And that is where we have this forming of all of these people who have been flayed are now joining together to become this one, as we see this goop comes back and becomes part of this one. And we will see them all unite later in this episode as well. I think they're doing a very good job this year. And maybe this is part of it, of, like you said, there's that alien reference in this scene where you get that mind flayer sitting right over the top of Nancy, and Nancy then being the Sigourney Weaver, doppelganger, if you will, in this situation. And I think they're doing a good job of like referencing all these, older, thriller / sci-fi movie types or classic movies from The Shining we've talked about, and this, and I know there's music that later we hear from, like, I put it from Beverly Hills Cop. So all these 80s movies that kind of come in, and they do a good job of referencing all these things throughout. So I feel like this season has a more distinct 80s vibe, but because it's all these references, I think that's also part of it, where it's like, well, you're just like picking all these other things. What are you doing on your own? You know what I mean? Like there's almost a lack of, well, what is Stranger Things doing? Because we're trying to do all these other things at the same time.
So many callbacks to other things. It's like, well, what's your identity?
Almost too many It's one of those, like, it becomes like a spoof movie where you've done all the spoofs, but there is no actual movie because you're just calling back to all the other movies that you've spoofed before it.
Yeah.
So right. I wonder if that is part of this as well. But listen.
Yeah.
This is a thrilling scene too. This was a good scene to start us off with.
This was a really good scene. Yeah. And that was all before the credits. So I think that was about, I looked at, it was like 6.5 minutes for that opener. So a little bit shorter.
I didn't time check this one. It was a little shorter than the others, but it was,
but still, packed full of action but now we're at a fair being set up, because this episode is set over the 4th of July weekend, right? Yeah.
Funny thing, we're now at Mayor Klein's fun fair, where he said he would host this big fair and everybody would forget all about the things. And as we're like, almost drone footaging into this fair with all this fun stuff, I'm watching with my wife, and she's like, is this still in Hawkins? It's like, yeah, this is still like the other side of Hawkins, where it doesn't even feel like it's in the same galaxy as to what the kids are dealing with.
I know.
But it is in the same place. Yeah, I know, they're just having a good old fair.
Yeah, how is all of this happening in one place? And again, it's like, okay, who has been alerted to this insanity at the hospital? Like, no one seems to be.
Nobody. There's only one employee there. She doesn't even know what's going on because she's still telling them to go in twos. Like,
what? I mean,
no idea.
They all showed up to Mrs. Driscoll's house just from that incident, and now no one seems to be concerned. At least we haven't had any scene where we're seeing evidence of that. So, but Larry Klein...
No, but the entire hospital staff, except for the one person holding the waiting room back, has been killed on their floor.
I guess.
Like, they're all dead.
But it's like...
we saw them all.
But not the whole hospital, right? So...
Well, there were a lot. There were a lot. So... we see Larry Klein with his cigar, bothering this poor kid with his hot dog stand, micromanaging, telling him to move it to a different location or something, like he has nothing better to do. And he locks eyes with Grigory, our Russian Terminator friend from across the way, and they are talking then inside of this fair ride. I love how that was the location for their meeting. It was like inside one of those... it wasn't the Roundup, but it was like the spaceship looking thing from the inside. It was enclosed. It's one of those ones that spins around and you get sucked to the wall.
Yes.
And like that's all it does.
Yeah.
And I remember because my wife was like, "Oh my God, that ride is the worst."
Yeah, I used to really enjoy the spinning fair rides. Not anymore. That is one thing that the last time I tried to do one, I'm like, you know what? These are done now for me. I am no longer a fan of the
there's
spinning
a point.
rides.
I can do some of them, not the extreme ones. The ones where you get like sucked up against the wall, like forget that. I'm out of those.
Yeah.
But like some of the spinning stuff I can still do with my kids. Not much.
I like roller coasters.
Or certainly not a lot in a row.
Yeah. Could still do the roller coaster, even the innocent teacup. Those days are over for me.
The teacup. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I've done the teacups and I've done some other spinning ones recently when we went down to Disney World.
Nice.
But I'm not doing them in a row because that's too many. Yeah. So we got to space those out.
Yeah. Well, Grigory wants his help to find Hopper and Alexei, basically demanding that Larry like figures this out. And Larry is just saying, listen, this guy's a moron, talking about Hopper and telling Grigory to bring backup if he needs more assistance on this. And Grigory did not like this at all, and he is slamming him against this control panel, which starts activating this ride. And Grigory is just saying, listen, you're lucky you're still breathing. And he has Larry by the neck at this point, and Larry is apologizing, saying he's going to therapy for his anger and to like, please, he'll figure it out. So he's being now physically threatened. So Larry clearly is not the person in charge. He is just being...
He is the most middleman of all of them.
Yeah.
He's just stuck between everybody, and there's no good answers for Larry.
No.
He's in some trouble.
He agreed to something. He's clearly getting something, like he's getting paid out, or he's benefiting from this somehow, and is now clearly way over his head. But now we're with Hopper.
I think he's benefiting from it by not dying.
At this point,
I don't think he's getting paid out.
I feel like that there must have been some initial incentive for him agreeing to this. That's my thought, is that...
Oh, I would argue that in a lot of these scenarios that we see play out, there's always the like, well, but we'll pay you all this money, and then it never happens.
Oh, God, yeah. Right.
There's no payout. It's just like, listen, we'll not kill you instead. How about that?
Right. Yeah, how about that, Larry? And now we're with Hopper arriving back at Murray's bunker with Burger King, and Alexei is watching Looney Tunes here, and Joyce is trying to ask Alexei what the generators are powering. And listen, Hopper gives Alexei the Slurpee that he also picked up for him, and he is not happy because it is strawberry, not cherry.
I want to just pause you here and say,
yes,
this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire episode. This is easily one of my favorite scenes because, well, I'll let you continue, and then I'll pick it. Well, it's just the idea of, Alexei saying that he needed cherry.
That's right.
And that you brought strawberry. And we have this whole back and forth between Hop and Murray and Alexei to Murray and Murray back to Hop, where Murray is translating, and they're basically negotiating over whether or not he's going to give him information because he got him the wrong Slurpee flavor. And Hop has had just about enough of this, so he takes Alexei, drags him across the living room, throws him outside, and says, "Fine, here, go. We don't need you. Get out of here." Gives him the keys to the car, gives him the handcuff keys, and slams the door. And Murray and Joyce are looking at Hop like, "You are an insane person. He's gonna leave." He's like, "No, he's not. He knows that he can't go back to his people. If he goes back to his people, they're just gonna kill him because they're gonna think that he spilled all the beans anyway. So his best bet is actually to stick with us." Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, you're watching Alexei break out of his handcuffs and get in the car and turn the car on and start driving away. And Murray is in the house going, "Hey, I think he's leaving." Uh-huh. He's like, "No, he's not." Uh-huh. And we're all watching like, "Yeah, he is though." And Murray and Joyce get by Hopper, get outside. They all go out just in time to see Alexei stopped at the end of the driveway, back it up, and he says to Murray, like, "Strawberry's fine." And then he just walks inside. And Hop was 100% right. He just had to play it out. And now they're going to be able to like sit and have a conversation. And the reason why I say I love that scene is because Hop needed a win so bad.
So bad.
He needed a win. I mean, we have had him our least favorite character.
It's been bad. Yeah.
2, 3, 5 times between the two of us. 5 times out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10. 5 out of 10. Half the time. He's been the least favorite character
for one of us.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
it's brutal. Yeah. It's been a hard season for Hopper.
Yeah,
and boy, did he need to look right.
Yeah.
He needed to look like he had outsmarted him and didn't just brute force him into something. And he needed to look right in front of Murray and in front of Joyce. That no, he does know what he's talking about, and we finally get that delivered here, which was awesome.
It was so great. I agree. I have that same thing written down where I'm like, we really needed a good sheriff moment from Hopper because they had just like basically written him off. I mean, and that was clear that they did that to us as viewers too, because even as viewers, we're thinking, he's gone, Hopper. Like, what are you doing, you big dum-dum? Like, he's now left. And just my trust in his foresight there, I just didn't have it. So I'm thinking,
but half of these episodes, he's still been like, there's been so much relationship stuff in this season where Hop is he's still arguing with Joyce half the time about being stood up at the restaurant and not focusing on what should be done. Mm-hmm. And so now we don't see him focused on that at all. He is right. He does come through in the clutch. Yeah. And here we are. And we're in a much better space because of it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, maybe this guy does have some detective skills once he's actually focusing on that work. And we know that he does. We've seen that before. We just started to easily forget it because, he was just being all distracted by stuff that he should not be focusing on right now. So then we're with Dustin and Erica in the vent, and Dustin is.
This is another good scene
about everything.
These are back-to-back good scenes here.
Yes, yeah. He's because Dustin is sharing the entire story with her, but we don't need to sit there as viewers and listen to that. But we just catch the drift because she's just saying.
He's basically explaining the end of it, and we're all like, okay, so she's heard the whole thing.
And I love though, because he's saying, so the only thing that you're questioning in all of this is Lucas's involvement. And she's like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. She's like, okay, yeah, that tracks. So she believes it. I mean, she's on board. This is all adding up to her. She's believing his story. It's just that, hey, did my brother really participate in this way?
My brother wasn't really there, though. Like none of that happened. But all this did in fact happen.
Yeah. And Dustin's yeah.
Yeah, but Erica is trying to convince Dustin, like, hey, we got to find a way to shut these fans off a lot faster because we're never going to make it to the end. It's like 10 miles, and she does all this quick math with, like, it's not, like, super complex math, but fractional math.
Yes.
That she does very quickly. Mm-hmm. And he turns to her and is like, oh, you're a nerd.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is absolutely against everything Erica stands for, except Dustin explains in detail why she's actually a nerd, because she can do quick math and she's into My Little Ponies, and breaks down the whole My Little Pony last episode. And then she's like, well, how come you know about My Little Ponies? He's like, because I'm a nerd.
I'm a nerd, dude. Yeah. Like, because, if you it's like I am one, so I can spot one, right? Like, it's like you got it, you spot it. And so it's like because she's determining how long it will take for them to walk all the way back. I think the other piece is that he points out that she's really into political, like she's a political junkie. But she's totally in denial of all this, and it's really funny. But he finally does stop the fan as well, and that allows them to crawl through. But again, this vent at this point is huge. Like, they're just casually sitting in here talking.
I mean, Dustin can just easily sit here, where before he couldn't get into the vent before. Right. So, but she's doing the math because obviously they've had to do this a number of times. We haven't seen that, but we're seeing them try to shut down this one fan. And obviously, if they're going to get all the way back down the hallway, there are many fans that they've got to shut down, each and every one, and it takes them a while to open the screwdriver. So Erica's getting to the point where she's like, we got to find a way to shut this down faster.
Yeah. But then meanwhile, we're with the guards beating up Steve really bad. And Steve is just yelling, listen, I work at Scoops Ahoy. Look at my outfit. Like, I'm a
who
teenager.
Do you work for?
Yes.
I work for the ice cream company.
Oh my God. This scene, this is really funny. And Eric, I know you haven't seen this show yet. I really want to do a rewatch of it, but he reminds me of this character Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad here. It's a very serious show, but this character does bring comic relief as well, and he's just like really ridiculous in a lot of ways, and it's just this really It's gruesome, but he's also just funny, and Steve is he just reminded me of him in this scene. Those of you out here,
he does. Yeah. Steve does a really good job of making this very intense interrogation scene also seem fairly lighthearted.
Yeah.
Like he's able to bring it to a more like. A more genuine level. I think the idea of him just explaining like, hey, listen, we're just high school kids who happened to stumble into here. I'm sorry. We didn't mean to be here. This is the thing. Right. And even though that is not fully the truth.
Right. Yeah.
He's not wrong that they're just a bunch of kids that have wandered their way here, didn't think they were actually walking into a Russian base.
And they
were just trying to check what was in the boxes.
Yeah. And
didn't know it was an elevator.
And they keep punching him in the gut. And, Steve's just saying, you can let us go and no one will know. And he's offering them ice cream. The USS Butterscotch is out of this world. And they all start kind of laughing. And so does Steve, I think, out of nervous fear. But they're all, it's a really funny scene, while also being a bit terrifying for Steve because we don't know what's going to happen.
There's almost a moment where they realize, like, maybe this is just a high school kid. Maybe he doesn't work for anybody, but where it appears as though that's the path that they're taking. Like maybe he's actually convinced them, but then they hit him again, and it's who do you work for? And it's like,
No.
He's telling you the truth.
Because then they
doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah, because then they have just knocked him out cold, and you just see Steve's feet as their two guys are dragging him down the hall into another room, and now Robin is also being brought in, and they're handcuffed, and she's trying to get Steve to wake up at this point because he's still out cold. He's not waking up, and they're strapping these two together back to back, with kind of what looks like a seatbelt strap. And this guard is saying, I think your friend needs a doctor, to Robin. And Robin spits in his face. And he's saying, you know what? You're going to regret that. And they leave them there. I'm like, oh God. Oh no. Yeah.
Listen, this is the moment that if Robin hasn't officially joined the group, she's all the way in now.
Yeah.
When she spits in that guy's face, she is committed to the cause at this point.
Yep.
And same with Erica. Like Erica, realizing that you're a nerd, this is kind of your moment where you're now connected in.
Yeah.
You say whatever you want. You're part of the group now.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things.
I agree.
But I do like this idea of them being tied together, and then Robin has got to figure out how to wake Steve up because he's out cold.
Now we're with 11 in the black space, and she is looking up, and we're with her and see she is surrounded, because we're kind of then with actually where her body really is. And she's surrounded by pictures of Heather and her family, and a TV is on with, she has the static going. So she's blindfolded, and Mike is worried about how long she's been under like this. Max is telling him, listen, just relax. Elle is fine. And they're kind of bickering back and forth about how 11's doing and how, they each kind of want to control the situation a little bit. Well, Max is telling Mike, you need to let Elle just do her thing. Nancy, is also trying to call, I guess, neighbors around town in Hawkins to see if anything else has gone missing. She's saying, hey, I'm Nancy Drew with the paper.
I think she's trying to call the fertilizer companies.
Okay, and see if any more fertilizer.
They're calling all the companies that she had already talked to earlier in the week because they had all reported that there had been fertilizer that had gone missing. Because then they said, well, maybe they don't need any more chemicals.
That makes sense.
That's all part of it. Like nobody's missing anything else. Well, maybe they're not. Maybe they don't need any more. Maybe they're all set. Maybe they've got what they need.
Yeah. And they're, I guess, just hanging up on her. They're probably like, crazy kid. I don't know what she's going on about. Or
they're just saying, no, we're good. Thanks.
Yeah, bye. Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah. And Nancy, John, and Will are trying to determine, where the mind flayer went and really what it wants. And they're talking then also more about how, they've been feeding on these chemicals and now they've suddenly stopped. Like, what's up with that? Have they moved on to something else? And, then you also have this other conversation going on still with Max and Mike trying to determine, Elle's limits. And, Max is saying she's fully capable and can make her own decisions, and reminds Mike, and also is kind of telling Nancy at this point that she dumped his ass. So, calm down. And Max and Mike are fighting, kind of going back and forth. And, Mike is saying, well, she's been corrupted. And from Max's point of view, she's saying, well, maybe she's actually been enlightened here. She saved the world twice and you still don't trust her. And this is where Mike is telling the group about how she spied on them. And Lucas is sort of like, wait, what happened here? And he's saying that everyone is so careless with her powers and she's not just a machine. And this is where Mike blurts out how he loves her and he's really afraid of losing her again. And it gets a little bit awkward for a moment, But just then 11 actually emerges from the other room saying that she found him. And Nancy is like, found who? But then we're back. Yeah.
I don't love that scene.
There's a lot happening, but also not a lot.
There's a lot going on, and I feel like it transitions everything that they need to do.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of these things where there's so much important stuff going on. I feel like these guys have been through this now, not just once, but twice.
Right.
And now we're here again with the exact same situation. You guys know what you should be doing or have an idea of how to deal with this. Why are we discussing who got dumped and that they needed to be enlightened or that we need to trust that? I don't love the Mike versus Max arguments here. And maybe it's just that I personally want to see them all be on the same team. And I don't like it when they're arguing with each other in this way, especially over somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, Mike should realize that 11 should be able to see other people from him and, like, have her own identity. And at the same time, he's not wrong that, listen, everybody's just trusting that 11 will do and fix everything. And maybe that's too far. And we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just something here. I don't know. There's something about it. I can't put my finger on it. It's not my favorite scene in this show. There's a lot of good moments throughout this episode that I do like quite a bit.
Yeah.
But this is one of those ones that makes you go, and it's also the moment that, like, Mike says that he loves Elle, not to her, but to everybody else. And that also gets wrapped into this whole scene. And so, I don't know. How did you feel about this one?
I did struggle with this a bit too, even like trying to take notes on it and sort of like convey all of that was tough for that reason, because it's sort of like, all right, well, all of those things happened. And I did also struggle just with the whole Mike and Max back and forth, like, really, guys? But at the same time, even when you're talking about it, I'm like, all right, but I guess for what it's worth, it's like Max and Elle really have just become close friends in this season. And 11, Max is helping her trying to get out of her shell. So I feel like they're both trying to protect her in their own way, right? Like, Max is trying to protect her by, like, saying, listen, she is an independent person and knows what she's doing, and protect her in that way. Whereas Mike is like, yeah, but I want to protect her because I've been through this craziness with her before, and I know how it can be really hard on her physically. And I don't want us to just like continue to just, hey, she's the weapon, so we're just going to keep putting her in these dangerous situations, even though that's really what she wants to be doing. They're both coming at it from different perspectives. So it does make sense where they're coming from. And I would understand why they'd be at odds. Yeah.
Agree. But I think maybe the part that gets me here is Mike is starting to act like Hopper. Like, he's starting to act like 11's protector here, where, hey, you don't know what's good for her, I know what's good for her, and yet he doesn't really know that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a like, I'm gonna take control of this situation because I'm the only one that cares enough, and that's just not
it's not true. Right. Yeah. And that's where then that comes out in a later scene where 11 just says, you have to trust me, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, I've got this. Yeah. And I like that. So
which is,
they don't drag this out for
reminiscent of other things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, it was just, I did just find that funny about how it came out about how they were spying on them though. And Lucas is all like, what now? Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah. And I do think, listen, they were wrong to do that for sure.
Yeah. But
so that doesn't go well. But it was nice. I still really like those episodes though, where Max and 11 are starting to just be more friends, and 11's using her powers in a funny way.
Yeah.
Like, I find those to be more interesting.
I love that, because it's like, yeah, that's what a kid would do if they had those powers. Like, come on.
100%.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They would be using them for all sorts of chaotic reasons. Like, yes.
Right. So,
man.
But now we're back with Murray Bowman, Alexei, Hop, and Joyce, and Murray is translating how they are all stealing from the town's power grid. And Alexei is saying, listen, there's many of these, what he's calling keys in Russia. So I guess these gates, but they came out wrong. So it sounds like they've been trying to open up more gates in Russia. It wasn't working out, and Murray is having trouble translating the rest. So Alexei starts showing them with a straw, and they're, he's trying to use one of the Burger King straws and how it's like penetrating a hole. And the straw,
Well, it's when because he's trying to change the phrasing. He's trying to, like, he knows Russian, but he doesn't know it. He doesn't know all the different combinations of words.
Yeah.
So when he's explaining it, he explains like the gate and this other thing, and then he calls it a doorway between worlds. And that's when Hopper and Joyce look at each other like, oh my God. They're trying to open the gate.
And they're getting a flashback.
It all
vision.
starts coming together.
Yeah, because you're seeing them like in their mind.
And so the idea is
seeing the gate opening up. The location is part of the equation that Russia didn't have. So like they didn't have, and Hawkins, they found out the door had already opened up once. So it was weaker there. It had already been developed. And it was still healing. So now they're just figuring, well, we can just use that one again. And that's what Joyce is asking.
It's weaker, so we'll use that one.
Yeah. And Joyce is like, is this door open now? And he's saying it is opening. So it sounds like it's actively being worked on, which we've also seen. And Joyce is now trying to call the kids, and Hopper is trying to find whiskey. So that is both of their responses to this news. And, Murray is pouring him.
Seem like reasonable responses.
Yeah. And Murray's like, hey, will you take vodka? And they're like, sure. So they start drinking together and discussing if there is any way to stop this. There's got to be a way to stop this. And Alexei is saying now that he is compromised and he doesn't think that he can help. And he just kind of starts laughing. And,
Well, they want to be able to go, like, can we turn it off? Can we unplug it? Can we turn off the key? And he's like, you can't get there. Like, this is an impossible thing. This is an underground fortress that is impossible to break into. I can't get you there. And meanwhile, it's like, yeah, we already got kids on the inside. Like,
oh my God,
there.
this scene was so funny because meanwhile, you also have Alexei calling Hopper a fat Rambo, and and right as he's saying it's this underground fortress, next scene is Dustin and Erica like popping up an air vent and just like crawling out easily, and even Hopper had kind of a glint in his eye there. Like, I think Hopper, they didn't know what the kids are up to, but he's just like,
no, they have no idea. Like, the funniest thing is, even when they find the other kids, no one has a clue that Steve and Dustin are already on the inside.
Oh my God.
And they don't even know who Robin is.
Right.
And Lucas is going to be like, what is Erica doing here? Like, none of them have any idea that these four are banded together in a Russian fortress that's underground.
And Dustin was trying to get in touch with the group, but it was too late at that point. Like, dude, you should.
Well, and they have also tried to get in touch with him, but they have no idea where he is. I think they all think he's probably just sitting up on top of the hill with his radio, and he's not.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't like that piece of it. They don't seem overly panicked not knowing where Dustin is. I don't know. But they're emerging from a floor vent into a room that's filled with those green canisters. And Erica is also looking at this giant cage and asking, how big was that Demogorgon again? And she also is finding this like electric shock stick thing.
Yep.
And Dustin's like, what the hell is that? And she's like, a deadly weapon. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Good for you. You found a weapon. I would be all about that too. Arm yourself with anything that you can find. And Dustin also found the keys to this little golf cart pretty easily. And they're able to now turn this thing on. And also, so this is the scene I was referring to earlier where I'm like, there's not a single guard in this room. Nothing. There's no cameras. There's no like security whatsoever. Okay.
Apparently not. They just, left the car here and
okay.
That's it.
That's it. So now we're
it's such a small space that I don't know if they would you always going to have a guard standing by where the
or
vehicles
alarms
would be.
though. I don't know.
You would think that there would be some sort of security cameras or alarms or something that people would know what is going on. Yes, you would think.
Especially with all of those green canisters around. Like, it seemed like that was a very important room. I don't know. But
I would think so.
Yeah, now we're back with Robin yelling help, and Steve is regaining consciousness, and he's in rough shape. Robin, though, she has spied the scissors across the room, and they make a plan to hop over there, and it starts actually working. They're counting 1, 2, 3, hop, 1, 2, 3, hop, and it's not until the third hop that then they fall over, and now they're on the ground. And Robin is at this point just busting out laughing because she's just like, listen, I cannot believe I'm going to die in a Russian base with Steve the Hare Harrington. And wow,
right.
This is how I'm going out. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you're so delirious at that point that you're just going to laugh because it's so insane. And I do kind of get that. But then
I absolutely get that. I feel like that's a genuine reaction.
Absolutely. But Eric, this is where I struggle a bit. So she's then going into this like reminiscing about Mrs. Clickety Clack's class. That's what the bad nerds used to call this one teacher they had. And Robin's saying, listen, I used to sit 2 seats behind or the desk behind you 2 days a week for a year. And he doesn't remember her at all. And she's saying, yeah, you were a real ass, but I was obsessed with you. And because you were popular and accepted and, even us losers pretend to be above it all, but we all just really want to be popular too. And Eric, I gotta say, I didn't consider myself a loser in high school. I just had a very small group of friends in a very huge high school. But I was definitely not a popular kid by any means. And I just never felt like I really fit in, but I just take issue with this from Robin. I just feel like, I didn't feel like I wanted to be popular, that was like this goal that I had. And I don't really feel like people who are, on the outside of that just have this desire and they're obsessed with popular kids. And I just felt like that didn't align with who we really know Robin to be. And for her to say that she was obsessed, I just didn't like that, the way that landed. And this whole conversation felt weird. Like, I guess that she was trying to make this connection and in the end say that, listen, we're now in this place and we end up having a lot more in common than we ever realized that we would in high school. It just, the whole thing felt weird to me. I wasn't a big fan.
It gets followed up, though, by Steve talking about how being popular was not exactly what it was cracked up to be.
Absolutely.
And that, some of the things that they tell you that you should want, you really don't care about these things. when it's all said and done. I just think I don't know that I don't have a problem with what Robin said. I feel like not everybody is going to feel that way, but I do feel as though there are probably people who look at the popular kids with a little bit of envy.
Okay.
Like when you're in high school.
Sure.
I don't think that happens once you get out of high school.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much ends. So are there a contingent of high school students that are envious towards their popular counterparts and wish they could be a little bit more like them or have found themselves in that situation? Yeah, for sure there are. Could Robin have been that kid? Absolutely. I totally understand with what you're saying though too, where it doesn't really align with her character perfectly, but I don't think it's that out of character either. I think it's actually really cool to see them two kids who clearly walked different paths in high school.
Yeah.
And you get that understanding that, oh no, Robin has known who Steve was from the second he walked into Scoops Ahoy.
Right.
And Steve had no idea who she was.
He did not.
Because she saw him as the popular kid. And she sat next to him for weeks. And he didn't know because he wasn't paying attention to that stuff back then. And now here he is. And he doesn't really care. He's learned. We've seen Steve learn those things are not as important as they should be. And
that's right.
He's now he's in a different spot. And so he sees Robin for who she is. And
I guess because
I believe they are starting to build that friendship.
Yeah.
But that's just it.
Yeah.
Robin specifically is looking at this going, this could be the end here. Mm-hmm. And Steve, I think, has lived through this a couple times. Still has some hope.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
he's taking on a Demogorgon with a bat. We'll see what happens.
That's true. Yeah. And then the Russian guards come back and see them knocked over on the floor, and they're picking them back up and saying, hey, we're going to inject you with some truth serum. I think that's what, I forget how they put it, but we knew that that's what they were implying there. It's going to be truth serum.
That's what it was.
Yeah. And it is right in
something
Steve's
to help
neck.
You talk is what they said.
Yeah. And Steve is just do you even clean that thing? Oh gosh. And it's this massive needle on this gun. Oh my God. It just looked awful. And yeah, Steve is
going to leave a mark for sure.
Yeah, Steve is screaming. But then we're back with Elle blindfolded again, and she sees Billy in his room on the 4th of July, and they all agree that it's a trap. So all the kids are like, yeah, this is a trap here. And Lucas says that they can kick their butts.
Well, it's a trap to go see Billy.
Right.
Because
he's trying to draw them in.
Billy's just hanging out in his place, and he's like, if we go to him, he's already set it up. Mm-hmm. So we can't go to him. Mm-hmm. We have to, do something different.
Yeah. And Lucas is saying, well, we can kick their butts. And Max is like, Elle can kick their butts, you mean? And Elle is having a flashback of when she connected with her mother in that black space. And Nancy is reminding them that they have to find the source. Killing the flayed is a trap. And then 11 says to them, listen, she thinks that there's another way so they can see where he's been, because that flashback of her seeing her mother was reminding her of when she connected with her in that black space and was able to see more. Because you were seeing those flashbacks of when the mom was saying those phrases, which I did not write down, and I'm forgetting exactly what they were in this moment. But Eric, I remember you had repeated
rainbow. And
it was all the.
They used the rainbow again in this one.
Yeah.
What else was it?
Well, if Mike is
left, right.
It was something. It was how her mother identified really where she was in that in that lab space where she was being kept too.
Well, and you saw you got to see the mom's whole memories of what she had gone through, and she was able to walk Elle through that whole thing.
Exactly. And Mike is saying, listen, she doesn't have to do this again. He's afraid for her. And she's saying that she needs him to trust her, and Billy can't hurt her, not in there. And as he sees Max is glaring at him, he's like, oh yeah, just be careful. And I don't know, I guess Mike didn't really, I was not annoyed by Mike.
Come on, scene. Mike.
I felt like it was like he was just really being like, is anyone else thinking about Eleven's potential?
No. Listen, everybody else knows this is the way.
It's the only way. There's really...
She is saying to you, trust me, I got this. Mike, shut up.
And then he did. He backed down. God. He backed down right away. He was like, all right. I mean, not that he really had a choice here, but yeah.
Like, don't stand up. Just shut up. Stop saying things, Mike. We're fine.
11 is putting the blindfold back on and sees Billy on the bed in that black space again. And she's approaching him slowly. And he seems to be staring into nothingness in the most creepy way possible. This actor, oh my goodness, like his dead stare is pretty terrifying, if you ask me. He's staring out to nothingness, and she's touching his hand and takes it slowly and saying his name. She's like, Billy, can you hear me? And she says she wants to see what's happened to him. And he looks at her, and then he grips her arm. And she's saying no and falling back in slow motion. And I really like how this scene was shot. It was like she was just tipping back and then falling into nothingness. And all the scenes start flashing as she's falling of seeing the monster and everything around Billy. And then she's on a beach and she's being pushed out by the waves. And she can hear Mike echoing in the distance and asking if she's okay. And they're all asking, what do you see? And 11 is saying she's okay. And she's on a beach and she sees a woman. She's pretty. And she's calling to a young boy and he wants to surf for another 10 minutes. It's Billy as a kid. And, 11 is saying, the woman rather is saying, yes, 10 more minutes, but no more than that. Dad will be mad. And watch out for those rip currents. So Max is also confirming to the group that this is a memory from California. At which point 11 is also seeing a big storm, like craziness in the distance. And she's like, I think it's the source. And I'm watching this like, yeah, no kidding. Like, oh my God, it was this insane, like it wasn't subtle at all. This was clearly what she was there to go see. So she's...
that was kind of hilarious. Where she's like, oh, I think I see the source. And there's this gigantic storm happening over in the corner. Like, I think you
you're
found
onto
it.
Something
It's
11. Yep. And she's walking toward it. But then Eric, I love this scene where Hopper, now we're with Hopper in that group again, where he's calling a number that Dr. Owens gave him, and this Philadelphia Public Library is answering. And I also, I had to look this up. There were 3 distinct phones that were just sitting on this guy's desk that's answering this Philadelphia Public Library. I couldn't read the other 2 phones in this shot, but other viewers said that the other 2, one was for Wanda's Flowers and the other one was Pony Express. So clearly it's this, government entity that is just picking up these emergency lines. And, Hopper's just saying, tell Owens that the Ruskies are opening the gate. And he leaves Murray's phone number with them at this point. And Eric, so this is another note I looked up. This is a real phone number that you can call. So you see this phone number on the center of Murray's phone. I called it. And you get an answering machine for Murray Bowman where he's like, he basically is like, Mom, is this you? Or Joyce, is this you? And he has like little messages for both of them. And he's like, if this isn't my mother or Joyce, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to hear from you. And then he's like, just starts flipping out at them. It's really funny.
That's funny.
Later on, and actually, hold on. If anyone wants to call it, did I write it down? Yes, it's 618-625-8313. And yeah, it's really funny. So you should call it if you haven't yet, and if you are able to.
I haven't, but yes. I will now.
And so yeah, Murray is though very upset that now Hopper has compromised him. He's left his phone number with this agency, and he's like, now I have to move. Now my whole situation has been compromised. I mean, this is Murray in his bunker. I don't blame him for being a little bit annoyed here, but yeah, Hopper also has to give his code to this guy on the other end of the phone, and Murray is dying at the fact that Hopper has to like dig it out of his wallet, that he has it written down. This is not like the secure way to do things, and his code is Antique Chariot. And then he's just like, all right, well, relay the message, and now we wait. And after he hangs up, Joyce is like, what? Now we wait? Like, our kids are in danger. And she didn't feel like he really relayed the true urgency of the situation here. And, she thinks that the kids are just at the festival, too. I think that's funny. And Joyce is then like, listen, I'm calling this guy back. So she picks up the phone. She's calling him back saying, listen, this is Antique Chariot's partner, Wheelbarrow. And they're just telling her, lady, calm down. You do not dare patronize me. And she is demanding help right now. And he's like, yes, ma'am, which I also found to be like, really, would they be yes ma'aming her here? But they did. And Joyce is waking up Alexei so they can all go back to Hawkins at this point. Because she's like, we cannot just sit around waiting, which I get that. Like, Hop just wants to sit there smoking his cigarette and having beers. And it's like, I've done my job type thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Like calling Owens is not exactly like just going to get everything done. Like, I mean, okay. That's
one
good,
thing you can do.
But we move. We move on. Like, you know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Where's 11?
And
go find 11.
That's right. And then we're back with Steve and Robin, and
that is the answer. She shut the gate before.
Absolutely. Then we're back with Steve and Robin, and they're both like, yeah, I feel fine, normal. And they're like, actually, I feel good. She's like, yeah, I feel pretty good here. And, and they're yelling, to the Russians on the other side of the door, you guys are morons. You gave us the wrong drug. And, now the doctor, quote unquote doctor, is back, and he's laying out a little, a blanket of tools, which do not look good. And they keep asking, who do you work for?
No, they don't.
No. And
he works for Scoops Ahoy. That's what he says. Yeah. Nobody wants to believe him, but that's who he works for.
Mm-hmm. And Robin is telling them how they cracked their code in a day just before.
Well, that is when they start using
on
the
Steve's
tools.
Nail.
When they get like this one like tool and they get it onto Steve's finger, she starts screaming like, "We cracked your code! We cracked your code! We cracked your code!" And they're like, "What code?" And she's like, "You guys are stupid." Like, you're just broadcasting your code out into the, middle of everything. And we just picked it up and solved it in a day. And we're high school kids. Like, we just broke your code. It was not difficult. It was very easy to do. And that just has them worried. So Steve is saying, listen, my partner, Dustin Henderson, he's going to the surface right now. And he's going to bring the whole U.S. light cavalry down on this place. And that's when the alarms start going off, and he's like, told you.
Yeah, I think I love that, because he's like, Hopper's going to kick your ass back to Russia. And the guard is like, is that so? And they're all kind of like laughing. Steve's laughing. And the alarm going off in that moment. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that told you so face is so great from Steve. Yeah, that was great. Then the Russians also see there is a giant hole burned through the ground. And Dustin comes running into the room out of nowhere and with Steve and Robin and electrocutes this doctor guy and frees them.
With the zap stick.
Pretty easily. I mean, this also is like, you gotta really stretch your imagination for how all this played out.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Like, okay, Dustin and Erica are now forever away, right? But now they're back out of nowhere. Drop in, like, and zap the crap out of the doctor who's standing there. I have hard times with the sequencing of what's going on in the Russian base.
Yeah, it's a lot of these underground, under the mall scenes that are just, you gotta just truly just roll with it. Otherwise, like,
everything above ground I can get behind.
Yeah,
it's the underground. Although some of my favorite moments are also underground.
Yeah.
But there are also some other ones that you're like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah. I feel like this moment, it's like, okay, so I know that they have the zap stick thing. Don't these guys have guns? Like, I mean,
I assume they drove the car back to where Steve was.
They don't show any of that.
And then, like, snuck around the base again? And then tripped the alarm with the green canisters burning through the metal, and then
and how did they even know exactly where Steve and Robin were?
Let's not ask that question. That's just another thing that we have to figure out.
Listen, I am just glad that they're together and they figured it out. I mean, I'm just gonna say it's because they're nerdy geniuses, and leave it at that. Because.
Fair enough.
Now we're back with 11 on the beach still. And now it's like you get those upside down particles floating all around her. And she's seeing memories from Billy in this scene. And you're with Billy as a kid and his dad. I mean, these were really rough. Like, this is where you see why Billy is the way he is, right? Like, he's been abused, abandoned.
Thing.
I mean, This is horrible. Right? Like,
you get a real look at everything that's happened to Billy over the course of his whole life, from when he was a little kid to now, all the way through. And it's not good. It's very
sad.
Disappointing. And like you said, it really does help you connect with Billy. And say, I get it. I get why he was so angry all the time.
Because we got that scene early on that I really liked that showed his dad's true colors. But this painted an even more vivid picture, obviously, because you saw that was going on.
You saw it over an entire timeline.
Exactly. Ever since he was a little boy, and it wasn't just with him. I mean, he was abusing his mother, at which point it looks like his mother just ended up leaving. And it's like, for her to feel that, like, she was in that type of position, that then it seems like either he ran off with the kids or the mother ran off with this other guy and, like, just had to leave the situation for her own safety and leave her own children. It's not good. And so you're seeing his dad, where he's grabbing his arm and yelling at him after what looks like a baseball game. He's holding these bats. And then you see the scene of his parents fighting, and his dad is just beating up his mom and screaming at her, calling her names. And Billy, as a child, is there. He's watching this whole thing. Another scene of Billy as a child on the phone, telling his mom, begging for her to come home. And it's just heartbreaking. And, you also then see where Billy as a child is introduced to Max. And I learned here, Eric, that Max here as a child, little Max, was actually played by Sadie Sink's actual little sister, which I thought was kind of cool.
Oh, there you go.
And there's another movie with Sadie Sink to go at a tiny tangent, called The Whale with Brendan Fraser. Really, really good movie. If you haven't seen it, you should. Sadie Sink's in it. Really great in that movie too. And also there's a flashback with her, and her little sister played her there too. So just thought that was kind of thought that was kind of neat. But
good to know.
Yeah. So then we're with Billy at the warehouse. So 11 is just seeing all of these glimpses of his childhood, and then fast forward into how Billy, is now landed himself in this position, being taken over by the mind flayer, where he's being dragged down the stairs at the warehouse, and everything is just like painted red at this point. And there is this giant funnel that 11 is just looking up into the sky. And 11...
Well, the entire storm is rotating around this.
Right.
Like the eye of the storm is at this warehouse that
the source.
Everything has been done. And so she says she thinks she's found it, and she speaks it back to the group so they can look it up, and they find it and they realize, okay, that's not far from here.
Right. Yeah, Brimborn Steelworks, and Jonathan is like busting out the yellow pages. He's flipping through it, and
yes, the Yellow Pages was a book of addresses and phone numbers that we all used to use back in the day.
Yeah,
I know. They got mailed to you. Everybody's phone number was just mailed to you.
Yeah,
now
weird.
You could,
that
now
was
you
could
time.
Go on yellowpages.com, I guess, but it's I don't know who really does that. Just Google it. Well, but Mike is yelling.
Somebody.
Mike is telling her to get out. And she comes out of it, but she thinks she's coming out of it, right? Like everything, I really like how they did this, where when she was going, after Billy grabbed her and she was falling into this space, she was falling back, and now everything is slow motion coming forward. So she's being pulled back out. And when she takes off the blindfold, though, no one's there. And she's saying, Mike.
No, she's back at the place, but there's nobody there. And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's like, did they leave?
For a moment, I'm thinking, did she like exit a different like dimension? Right. Like what has happened here? And then Billy comes out from around the corner.
Yeah. And it's like an alternate version of this reality. Billy, his voice is very echoey, and he's saying he can't hear you, meaning Mike, because she's calling for him. And he's saying, you shouldn't have looked for me, because now I see you, and now we can all see you. And I got the chills here when he said that. It's like, oh God. And we also see Heather and her mom, and they're like marching in unison out of their home like pod people. And you see more people, because remember, this is the 4th of July weekend, and you see more people start joining them under the control of the mind flayer. And their families are all like, where are you going, honey? Like, hey, we're grilling, or we're like having, we're playing with sparklers. And they're just like in the zone, not listening.
Yet no one seems to follow them. They all just go, hey, where are you guys going? And they just walk off.
Yeah.
And like there's 0% chance that if I was controlled by the mind flayer and I just walked out of my house, that my wife's not saying, hey,
grabbing you
and trying to like knock me over and drag me back, like follow me to wherever I've been dragged off to. I have to assume maybe she wouldn't. Maybe she just let me go. I don't
fine,
know.
Yeah. He's got this. He's good. Yeah.
I would like to think that somebody would probably stop me.
I would like to think that.
Or at least try to.
Yeah.
So like when you see them, they all end up marching back to this warehouse and like dropping down into this goop. Yeah, right. But they all end up walking into the warehouse and dropping into this goop, and then you see them forming this bigger mind flayer as they're going. But meanwhile, Billy is still saying, we're going to end you, your friends, and everyone.
Yeah, he's like, let us in.
11 is like snapped actually back to where she's able to take the blindfold off again, and she is back with the group.
Yeah, because he's like, you let us in, and now we're gonna stay. And it is just, he is saying that this is all for her. and it's time to end it.
Yeah.
And they're going to start with her and her friends. And right, like you said, then they're just going to end everyone. And luckily, right, she then finally is back in the real reality, and they all are still there. So I was glad, because I had a moment, Eric, where I'm like, is she trapped in this portion for a while? Like, does this go on for longer?
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember exactly how this ended, and she's not.
Yeah.
But it felt like she might be. And seeing them then this is where then all the people are coming and dropping down into goop. They're literally just
Mrs.
decomposing
Driscoll.
in front of you as they all walk through. Yep, all of them are just walking down, coming into this goopy substance and building what ends up becoming our biggest mind flayer monster, physical mind flayer monster that we've seen so far.
It's huge.
Not as big as the smoke one from season 2, but it's physically present and
right,
humongous.
because now this one is in Hawkins.
Is on our side of the upside down.
Yeah, and it's like once you're then the goo, because I think before you became the goo, there was a chance of, helping Mrs. Driscoll and all these other people if they had like killed the mind flayer before, but now that it's broken them down and and they've all become part of it, yeah, they're dead. They're actually gone. There's no reconstructing that body after that. And it's busting through the metal grates at the top, and it's out. It's out.
You mentioned this about Sadie Sink and her sister, and I just wanted to throw this out there. And it's probably because of all the Stranger Things stuff that we've been doing, but I keep getting this ad for this movie called Dead Man's Wire on my social media, and it's got an actually very interesting cast. I've not seen it. I have no idea. It's rated R, but it has both Dacre Montgomery and also Carrie Elwes, who plays the mayor in this, among a cast of others, including Al Pacino and Bill Skarsgård, and it goes on from there. It looks pretty good. I've only seen the trailer once or twice.
We saw the trailer. Yes. Yeah.
But I saw it, and I thought, oh, look at that. We've got Billy and the mayor from season 3 teaming up in this one. And what's
wild, I just saw, I don't know if we saw the same trailer or not. It was just this very brief one of like him putting the wire on him and explaining what a dead man's wire is with the gun. And all I could think was, oh my God, like if no one had told me that was Billy, Dacre, is it Dacre or Dacre? I feel like I'm butchering his name.
Dacre. The internet says Dacre. I had to look up Carrie Elwes' last name. I'm like, I don't know how to say that. The internet says Elwes, so I'm going with that.
If I didn't know that was him, he looks like a completely different person. Like his...
Oh, it doesn't look like Billy at all, because he's like got shaved head.
He looked very like
type
meek
situation,
and just very like not Billy, So it was cool. And also the guy Skarsgård, who plays the other character, or at least in the scene that I saw, he has like the mustache, and this was the guy who then ended up becoming the It that most people know, as opposed to Tim Curry, who was the original It. But this is the like. Yeah, so he's been in a bunch of stuff, but
and Carrie Elwes, who has a fairly distinct look, he's the mayor, the one from The Princess Bride and Robin Hood Men in Tights, and like he also is looking like I would say like Commissioner Gordon in the Batman movies. He's got like this big mustache. Brown hair, like he's clearly made up. I'm
seeing him now. Yes.
And you have to really look for him almost in the stuff that he's got. He looks very different.
Yeah.
That being said, cool. I'm just throwing that out there because you were mentioned in movies, and I keep getting this one popping up. And I mean, I'm always interested to see movies like this where side characters or main characters from shows that we're watching are partnering up somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool how there's been a number of stuff that seems to be either currently filming or releasing in the near future that's going to have a whole bunch of different cast folks from Stranger Things, that they're all continuing on to do pretty cool projects. So look forward to all of that and seeing them out there still. But that's where we leave. So that is with the Mind Flayer now coming out through the grate. That's where they leave us in this episode. And man, quite a cliffhanger again.
And with that, we're going to jump into our IMDb section of this episode where we talk about our ratings, your ratings as they are on IMDb, and our favorite and least favorite characters from this episode. I will say I had a hard time picking my favorite.
Okay.
I went back and forth on a couple. I am going to land on Steve as my favorite character in this. And I know that I gave Steve a hard time for that opening sequence. But I really like what he brought to the table in this. And I feel like it goes into the lore of being the best babysitter, where he is still taking all the punches and protecting the kids, giving Dustin time to get out of there, get farther away, trying to be protective. And I love is a strong word. I really like the scene with Maya Hawke or Robin, where they're kind of connecting. And I know you have a hard time with that one. Didn't love what that did for Robin's character. And that's why there are some dings against it, but not too much. To me, I thought it rung true of just two kids who have just gotten out of high school and are kind of trying to connect right before it could be the end for them. So I really like the compassion that came with that scene, and I like the humor that he brought. Well, he's being beat up trying to say that, listen, I work at Scoops Ahoy. I got the USS Butterscotch. Like, we can make this work. Like,
I love
it was
that.
really good. I feel like there were a couple other characters that could have also been my favorite, but I'm going to stick with Steve today.
Yeah, I love the comic relief that Steve brings always. Yeah, so good. I went with Dustin as my favorite for this one. I really appreciated the chat that he and Erica were having in the vent.
Yep.
And reframing what a nerd is for her, maybe shedding light on the fact that she is a nerd, but it's a good thing. You know, it's like, I am one, so I know one when I see one. And
he was definitely in the mix for me of characters I was thinking about, because largely of that conversation.
Yeah.
The one he had with Erica in the vent, I thought was great.
Yeah, I mean, and in the end, with obviously because Erica found that shock stick thing, but as unbelievable as it sounds, it does appear as though Dustin is now saving Steve and Robin. So, hey, that's a good thing. So, so I went with Dustin, and as my least favorite, I actually struggled a little bit with my least favorite. For me, that was a harder choice for this one. I
had two.
I ended up going with Larry, actually, the mayor, because it's like, this guy, listen, I mean, he's just an easy choice. It's kind of like picking Gregory, because it's like, obviously, these people are not good and they're terrible. But it's like Larry, like, you know what's happening here, and you're just digging in deeper. You don't care. You're just a jerk.
No,
and
he doesn't. Larry's not a good character. Like, there's no doubt about that.
He's awful.
I also could have picked Larry. I did think of Larry for this, to be honest with you. I tried to go with somebody who had a little bit more impact, and so I was torn between who I liked less in that scene in the cabin kitchen, and the answer is Mike.
Oh, yeah.
It was either Mike or Max. Like, I wasn't sure if I liked Max less.
Yeah.
But Mike kind of doubles down on it a couple times, and I don't want to take away from him the fact that he professes his love for Elle, not to her, but to other people. But sorry, Mike, like just learn the timing.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't it. This ain't the time. Like, shut up.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Mike can be a little bit annoying. I think a lot of people struggle with Mike in a lot of these episodes.
Yes, I'm not alone in this.
No.
I know there are people with me that are like, dude, what are you doing now? I also try to defend him when he's in the right, though. Mm-hmm. But he started this season as the worst.
Yeah.
And he's not helping himself.
Yeah.
Like that scene, that going all the way back to him and Elle in the bedroom with Hopper trying to talk to him. No.
Okay,
no.
that one
Mike
without a doubt.
Real bad spot.
Oh my gosh,
that's his worst moment ever.
Oh, that is just really obnoxious. And I mean, also it does ring true for teenagers. I feel like he is doing actually probably exactly what he's supposed to be doing in this role.
I don't think that's true.
I
don't think that's true. I don't think that rings very true. I mean, if that rings true, like, I'll tell you what, 0% time did I act like that in front of friends' parents.
No, I'm not saying it rings true for every child. I'm just saying that it's believable. Like, I felt like it is a thing that can happen, Eric. Hey, be ready. I think it's, but my struggle with that scene though, and why I really, which I know we talked about in that episode. If you haven't listened, please go back and check that one out. It's a really good one. What was that episode? Was that
Which one?
Where
the one where Mike is speaking out against Hopper. It's the first episode. It was the first
episode. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was the first or the second. So yeah, the struggle that I remember we both had with that one is it's like you'd think that with everything they'd been through, there would have just been more mutual respect there. Like he would have just respected Hopper way more. So while I'm saying I think that it can ring true for some obnoxious kid to just be totally off the wall disrespectful to an adult. Yeah. Do I feel like Mike, given everything that they'd been through, would be like that toward Hopper? I mean, the only excuse, I guess, is that because he's still so pissed at him for keeping Elle a secret. And that's what I think it all boils down to, is that Mike just feels like, hey, you hid this from me, and now I can act like a little punk. I don't know. It's not good. It's not good for Mike. No one likes Mike there. But we also don't like Hopper a whole lot in these episodes either.
No, so it's just Hopper was good in that episode, and then it really went downhill for him too. So like, no. Is the correct answer? No.
So Eric, what was your rating like for this episode?
Okay, so I was really torn on this. I wrote down 8.2. I wanted this to be like the lower end of the 8s. I feel like that's where this resided.
Yeah.
And then I came back in and I wrote it down immediately in my notebook because I literally keep all this on paper, which is a little ridiculous. And I realized the last week's episode, The Flayed, I also gave an 8.2. Okay. And 2 episodes before that, Case of the Missing Lifeguard was an 8.2 as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And after watching this, and especially before we started recording, I said, you know what? The scene with Steve and Robin, the scene with Dustin and Erica, I like all the Murray stuff too. Murray could have been my favorite character. Alexei might have been my favorite character in this too, for the record. Like, I'm going to give this a little bit more. I'm going to give this an 8.3. So I raised up above the others to differentiate. Yep. So this is an 8.3 for me.
Yeah, I could see that. I really liked the flow of this one, as like bizarro as some of those scenes seemed. I don't know. I was really into this episode. I went with a 9 for this one. And
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I was a big fan.
I think what happened is it was the chase scene at the beginning. These are the things that struck it down for me. The chase scene at the beginning, the Dustin appearing out of absolutely nowhere.
Thank God, though. I was so happy by it. I think I didn't care.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm glad he's there. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that
How it
happened.
I don't know.
And then we don't have to worry about that. But then the L, Mike, Max combo, like, let's talk about the relationship while all this is going. Those things are things that just stick with me, that I go, oh my God, like I can't
so
even.
For me, like the opener.
And there was also a large part of this episode that was 11 on her own, like working through this memory section of Billy's. And while it was very cool to see all of what was going on with Billy, it also took time away from kind of everybody else. So there was less. I mean, there's a lot of story happening.
There was,
but there was less other character interaction.
It's true. This episode didn't really have much of like Lucas really at all, like really much of Max. Like it really didn't. Even Mike, like he wasn't even really on the screen for very long.
When I was going through least favorite characters, I was thinking of like, well, Jonathan, Lucas, like they barely said anything in this episode.
Yeah.
Max was barely there. Like there were a number of key characters who missed out on time. And some of that is because they spent a lot of time with Steve in the interrogation room. And some of it is because they spent a lot of time with 11 in this Billy transport world area.
Yes.
Which both told a important story, and the story was good, but it took away from then everybody else.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
For me, that opening scene with Nancy being cornered by the mind flayer was so good. 11 attacking this thing, throwing it from wall to wall and then out the window and then watching it escape.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Well, I know there's a scene coming up that is one of my absolute favorite in this entire series. And I look forward to that episode. And I'm looking forward to going through what comes in between and after those things. So we'll see how this shakes out.
Yeah. I also, I liked that, now we know that it's all, as you've said, it's like it's all coming together even more. We know that Hopper and Joyce are finally going to be reunited with the group. I think what's a little bit different here, too, is that Hopper and Joyce, I mean, there's been a large part of this season where they're all still separated. Like, they really don't know what the other group is doing at all. Like, there's a huge disconnect.
They tend to do that in every season.
Yeah.
Right? Where there are virtually 3 storylines happening. And then it takes until episode 6 or so for everybody to get back together. But now episode 6 has ended.
And there's only 2 more.
There's 2 more episodes, and they still haven't all gotten together yet.
No.
So that's where I think there's got to be a lot that happens in these next 2 episodes. I'm looking forward to them, though. Very much so.
Me too. Same. So Eric, but wait, what was the IMDb score?
Oh, my gosh. We talked about our scores. I was getting ready to read our outro. And all of a sudden, we never did talk about that.
What did the people say?
I'm so glad you said that. Okay. Okay. The people said it was an 8.5, which is pretty much smack in between where we are.
Okay.
And I think, there you go. For what it's worth, they had an 8.5 last week as well.
Okay.
The highest episode from the people is an 8.9, and that was the sauna test. That was episode 4.
Okay. So what's interesting, I think Although we'll have to go back and do like a summary of what the scores, because I'm thinking, I know that last season, obviously, we had that very low scoring episode. We haven't seen that, even though people seem to be not as...
These are much lower.
On average, yeah.
Like just looking at last season's.
Yeah.
Episode 5 was an 8-8. Episode 6 was a 9-1.
Okay.
Episode 7 was a 6. That was the one. But then episode 8 was a 9-2 and episode 9 was a 9-3. So they ended on 3 straight 9s and an 8.8 before that. We only have 2 episodes left. And this episode is an 8.5. That means that in general, people are less excited about this build-up than last season's.
Sure. Okay.
Where, I mean, if both of these next ones, ratchet into the low 9s, then it still is ending successfully, I would say. We'll see how it shakes out.
But I don't think there haven't been any that dropped below the 8s in IMDb for this season, though, right? Because I remember I had rated one in the 7s.
No, there are 2. The first 2.
Oh, they were in the 7s. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Susie Do You Copy was a 7.8 and Mallrats was a 7.9. And to be fair, or not to be fair, but to be clear, I gave Mallrats an 8.8. It was my favorite episode of the season. And that was
the lower. Okay, interesting. Okay.
That is the second lowest scoring so far.
Hey.
Mallrats to me was awesome.
Yeah.
That's the one where you're seeing 11 be a kid, like throwing her powers around, knocking popcorn out of buckets and stuff like that, and going through the fashion show, and you get the 11 and Max combo. I mean, that there was just some sort of nostalgia blast that hits right with that episode. I really like that one.
It's been
and
fun.
Maybe when I say like, oh, I love season 3, I think when I think of season 3, I think of that and I think of the end.
The end. It's true.
So we find out what the end is over the next couple weeks.
Nice. Look forward to that.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. Please follow us on our socials, our Instagram and our TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, we really appreciate all the support that we are seeing there. And if you would like to listen to these podcasts in full, you can check them out on our own website, werunonreruns.com. Not to mention finding them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast player. For Amanda, this is Eric. Enjoy watching Season 3, Episode 7 of Stranger Things this week. Happy rerunning, everybody.
See you later, guys.